Today, I'm gonna read Turtles All the Way Down by John Greene. I have read this before and I'm gonna read it again, and this time I'm gonna talk about it. So, the title, Turtles All the Way Down. I have first heard of it from Professor Stephen Hawking in his book called A Brief History of Time. The beginning of the chapter was that story. It goes that there was a public lecture in astronomy, and one of the listeners to the lecture confronts the scientist. And she was like, "Look, Earth is flat, supported on the back of a giant tortoise." And the scientist, instead of going against it, raises a question on the premise. He was like, "Well, if the Earth is flat, supported on the back of a giant tortoise, then where is that tortoise standing on?" And the lady says, "It turtles all the way down." As soon as I've seen it as a title of a book by John Greene, I knew I had to have it. I mean, it's John Greene. He's a great storyteller. And it turtles all the way down. I mean, A Brief History of Time is my favorite book of all time. But this is not a story of science. This is a story of a teenage girl with OCD. And it's like getting into the mind of a person with OCD. So I'm gonna read like maybe, I don't know, 60 pages of the book, and I'm gonna get back to you. What's happening with the main character is that she would think about things that we shouldn't think about for a long period of time. Her thoughts are torturing her, and they can be dangerous. I mean, her thoughts could make her do things, that are absurd and stupid. And then she would start talking about forces so much bigger than herself, she couldn't begin to identify them. She would say that you think you're the painter, but actually you're the canvas. It's basically the same thing to us saying, you think you're the puppeteer, but actually you're the puppet. She couldn't stop the thinking. She wants to, but she couldn't. It's torturing her, and it's sometimes making her do absurd things. So it's hard, but some of her thoughts are philosophical. I find them kind of beautiful, but not on a part of her, because the thinking wouldn't stop and she couldn't just control it. So I'm gonna read more of this. I'm gonna get back to you. So there is $100,000 reward to whoever could give the information to the whereabouts of Russell Pickett, the father of Davis Pickett. I mean, from the way Asa describes Davis, I think she's still in love with this Davis Pickett. And we know where this is going. This is funny. My kind of telescope isn't for looking at the ground. You'd be seeing everything upside down and backward. Doesn't anyone know how telescope works? That's from Davis' witness summary to the authority. I think it's just funny. This is funny. My kind of telescope isn't for looking at the ground. You'd be seeing everything upside down and backward. Doesn't anyone know how telescope works? That's from Davis' witness summary to the authority. I think it's just funny. I am totally annoyed with this OCD thing because as I couldn't make out with Davis, she was worried about the billions of bacteria that could get transferred to her during the process. I mean, she diagnoses herself of C. diff, like a stomach disease. It's a result of her obsessive compulsive disorder, her invasives, basically the thoughts that's making her conclude things. But you know what? OCD is not the only thing responsible all the time. I'm not saying that so there's something wrong with her personality, but it's just that in her friends, when they went on a double date, her friend Daisy is into Star Wars, her other friend Michael is into Star Wars, and Davis is a science nerd who's also into Star Wars. They have common interests, and she doesn't have a thing for sci-fi, and that's making her left out. And it's making her personality is making it hard, even harder for her to cope with social interaction. So I'm gonna read more. I have to get my copy of Broken Things by Lauren Oliver, because I sure have encountered a word in here called transference, which is basically what's happening between Daisy and Asa. Daisy, the fan fiction writer and also the only female friend of Asa, is writing about this love story in Star Wars character, and one of the characters like this is very annoying is Ayala, who is like who is so much like Asa. I mean, it's the character is very annoying, and it's obviously Asa. I mean, Asa has OCD. Why would she write about something like that? If I were her, I would be totally furious and mad. I thought it's gonna be like, um, I thought the climax is gonna be like between Davis and Asa, but no, it's gonna be like her friendship with Daisy. So Asa and Daisy had an accident, and after the accident, Asa is all about her car. I forgot to mention that her car is like the most important possession she has. It's from her father. It was despite of the fact that they were fighting about before the accident. They were fighting about things about their friendship, like how Asa is so uninvolved in the life of her only friend Daisy. And in the hospital, this is what I'm saying. OCD can make her do things from absurd to dangerous ones. And her OCD and her anxiety or invasives made her drink a sanitizer. Because remember, she diagnoses herself obsessive. She is so conscious about all the bacteria. And people get C. diff. Most of the people got their C. diff from the hospital. She drinks the sanitizer. Well, after that shit, I don't think there's a resolution to her mental illness. I think that it was even worse. And then my most favorite part in here is Davis and how he remembers about that time when Asa was looking at this painting, and the note in the painting was, "I stole this painting from the lizard for you." In order for you to understand the note, you have to read Turtles all the way down. So yeah, great story.